Hey everybody, this is Darren DeLoach. I'm the online pastor here at Connection Point Church, and I don't know about you guys, but one of the greatest misses that we have, and I have as a person, I know my son and my family, one of the things we miss the most right now during this time of distancing is sports. There's no sports, and I know we can get our fix on by watching YouTube or checking out our favorite schools' websites, but high school sports get lost in this mix. There is no outlet for people here. And in Jackson, Missouri, sports are very important. We know that as a church, we know that our people absolutely 100% are all bought in to the Jackson Indians and whatever sport their child is in. In fact, you don't even have to have a child in sports, and seems like most people here at our church are 100% bought into whatever's going on at JHS. They just want to be a part of it. And so it got us to thinking whenever this distancing thing started, that we thought that if I could get the coaches together and just talk a little bit about sports and about how they feel about sports and what got them into sports, that if I could pull it off, we would do it. Well, they came in and we're here. So we're just going to run this. There's no real, no big objective. It's going to last as long as it lasts. And we'll just kind of go one by one, let them introduce themselves. And from there, we'll start out with what in this world made them want to be a coach. So we'll start right here.
My name's Coach Tyler Abernathy. I coach high school girls basketball over at Jackson.
I'm Coach Eckley. I coach football at the high school.
Darren Scott, coach of basketball, boys basketball at the high school.
And I'm Dave Murley, and I am the volleyball coach at the junior high and the high school.
All right, Coach Murley, we're going to start with you. You're my first victim. You're on the end, so that's the way it goes. If you had, whenever he answered this question, you guys could all answer this, and you guys don't have to wait on one another if you want to be rude and step over one another. I'm totally cool with that. What impacted you the most? What is the one thing that's pointed you towards beginning to be a coach, to be an athlete, and then eventually to be a coach? What was it that drove you there?
Well, first off, thanks for doing this for us. Gave me a chance to get out of the house, which was a great thing for us. And if any of you are out there worried about it, there is only 8 people in this room, so we are good and safe. No, I love sports from the second I could dribble a basketball, second I could shoot baskets. I was outside playing some sort of sport, whatever it was, baseball, basketball, any kind of sport I could play. And I learned at an early age that I was not going to be able to play after high school. And if I wanted to continue in sports, I had to find alternate methods of continuing that. So coaching just seemed natural to me. That's something that I could say involved in sports a lot. So that is the road that I took. Can't say that I just went to college and took some classes and stuff, and kind of just jumped right into it. Started when I was still in college, coaching at St. Paul for a basketball team, and worked on my way all the way up to here at Jackson.
Coach Scott?
All right. Well, mine's maybe a little different. I was supposed to be an engineer. My mom had it all planned out from, I think, birth.
No offense, but this makes perfect sense now.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And I think somewhere around my junior year, somewhere I kind of figured out I did not want to do that. So first I had to do was try to convince my mom. I had a lot of different thoughts of what I wanted to do. Freaked her out a few things I thought I was going to try. And then my dad had coached my brother's youth basketball team. So he asked me to sit on the bench, so I'm sitting there in one game, and they were down. My dad pulled as usual. He got a little mad, said he was done with them. So I started coaching, and we came back and won, and that kind of got me thinking, well, that was kind of fun. Now, you didn't realize then that all games don't work out like that, and things change a little bit, but that kind of got me going. And then I went to SEMO, and probably one of the biggest decisions of my life was I knew I wanted to learn more about basketball. I wanted to coach. So I'm at SEMO, and I just decided one day I was going to walk across campus and asked Coach Schumate if I could be a student manager. So I walked in, and he had a very tough interview. He said, "Do you want to coach?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "You're hired." And that kind of like changed his trajectory and kind of got me going on a path to be a basketball coach.
That's awesome. Coach Eck.
Initially, as a kid growing up, we had 2 options. You could be involved in sports or you could stay at home on the farm. and do that kind of work, and so it was a really easy decision for me. I was going to shoot baskets or play football or run track or do whatever else that kept me from working with hogs and in the garden and all kinds of stuff like that after school. So that got me involved in sports, and I loved it. And the community I grew up in was somewhat similar to Jackson in the fact that it was very well supported. We had great community support the whole time I was coming through, and then I was very fortunate to play for my high school football coach was an outstanding coach. I think he won over 300 games in his career, but he was a better man than he was a coach, and I think he really instilled in me the joy of sport. And I think once I went through college, I had an education degree and a coaching endorsement, but then I went to work in sales. And after I was in sales for a couple years, it was not going well, and it's like I was just kind of burnt out on it. And my oldest brother said, "Hey, what would you do if you won the lottery and didn't have to work anymore?" And immediately I said, "Well, I'd probably coach." So my first year in education, I was a volunteer varsity football coach at Hickman Mills, and at the same time I was hired as a hall monitor in the first semester in the independent school district. So I'd work as a hall monitor, which I don't even want to tell you how much money it made. Yeah, exactly. It was not good. Anyway, I worked there during the day, and then I'd have to drive over to the Hickman Mills School District to be a volunteer coach. But coaching is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not supposed to be in sales or own my own business or anything else. It's what I'm supposed to be doing, and I believe this is where I'm supposed to be doing it.
Awesome. Coach Abernathy.
For me, it was pretty much a natural progression. I've played sports my whole life. Honestly, that's kind of how me and my dad communicated. That was our time together, was throwing the football in the backyard, playing catch. That's what we talked about, with sports. And so it was just kind of natural for me. I was fortunate enough in high school. I played for some really good coaches. I played for, he was our freshman basketball coach when I was there. But he was with us the whole 4 years, and he made a big impact on me. And then my football coach, still to this day, is one of the coaches that has impacted me the most. And he was probably the hardest coach I ever had on me. But it was amazing how hard he was, but yet how much you loved him. It was kind of that. And honestly, when I went to college, there was really nothing else I really wanted to do. When I went to college, I kind of knew what path I was going to go down. I knew I wanted to coach. I didn't always know what I was going to coach. That was always, I just enjoyed sports. And to this day, I just enjoy, to me, it was just very, very natural. That's kind of what I've always really done. It's kind of been all my, people talk about hobbies, this and that, and mine has always revolved something with the ball.
All great answers. Really good. Actually, when I listen to those, with little, I've known some of you a little longer than others, but your personalities are, exactly. You guys kind of fit your profile of people as far as how you made that decision into sports. Another question is kind of a little bit off what we talked about earlier. You guys are influencers in young people's lives, period. And over the years, depending on how long you stay in this passion of yours, you're going to influence any number of hundreds of young people. If you could talk a little bit about what that means to you to be an influence on people's lives, specifically on young people's lives. As we know, as a person within the church, a lot of times we seem to ignore that age group of people and don't put most of our resources towards them, but you guys, you're all of everything you are and everything you're about is influencing that age group, the young teens in this community. And if any of you guys could talk about that, Coach Scott, if you don't mind, if you could start.
I think it's always been important to me. I think as you get older, it becomes more important. Obviously, it's just like anything else. You get older, you start seeing different things. But I think one of the great advantages of high school sports is it's the one chance kids can learn how to be tougher, can challenge themselves, can learn to work with a team. I know like a lot of times people think that you can develop your character through sports. I don't think that's true. I think it reveals your character, but it gives you an opportunity to know where you're at. And I just think in today's day and age with our kids and our community and everything else, it just gives them a chance to learn about themselves, because we just have so many kids that are great kids, and you can go through your whole life where everything is rosy and everything is great, but until you play a sport, sometimes that's the first time that you actually get challenged with something that you don't like. Things didn't go the way you wanted to. Nobody else can fix it other than you have to figure out a way to work harder, be a better teammate, do those things. And obviously we're sitting in a church. I think the fine line, the thing that it's tough sometimes in high school sports is, where's that line between showing and, sharing your faith and being too pushy? And I think that's something that hopefully your kids see, that as you work through and as you're coaching, that you're not perfect. You make mistakes. Sometimes your passion goes overboard. You do things you wish maybe I should take that back. But that's also a part of being human. It's hard to be passionate. It's hard to work hard. It's hard to give everything you can for something and be perfect. And I think that's where maybe sometimes our faith can show out the most, is in those moments, and our kids seeing us be real and seeing how we treat our families and things like that.
Awesome. Coach Murley.
You can start by providing discipline for your athletes. And something I like to tell my volleyball players is, it's not about you. You're playing volleyball for something much greater than yourself. It's a team aspect. And I know all the athletes have individual goals, but we want to make sure that they are striving for the team goals, and we want to make sure that they are striving for those over their individual goals. So that's, for a lot of athletes, it's kind of stepping out of their comfort zone, because they are kind of putting other people's goals and something bigger than themselves in the forefront. And when they do that, that is a huge accomplishment. I feel a lot of satisfaction in that, because I was able to make them see the big picture of things. So that's just some things that has been very rewarding for me as a coach.
Awesome. Coach Abernathy.
I agree. I think I'm a little younger than most of the individuals on this panel, by the way. Yeah. But I have noticed, even over my short time, that I think as you get older, your perspective on what you're trying to accomplish by being a coach changes. And it's not so much about winning and even losing games. It's more about, how can you help kids become better? How can you help them succeed in life when things, when they get to college and they get older and things don't go their way? Have you prepared them for that situation? And I just think what's changed for me most over the last handful of years is, I think I look at coaching differently than what I did when I started. I used to look at it always through X's and O's and this and that, and now you look at it more through individual development for each kid, and not so much on the floor, but off of the floor as well. And I think that's what's really made the biggest difference for me over the last couple of years, is just, as you get older, you just change how you think about things, and maybe you start looking more bigger picture than so focused on the next game. And but that's also a challenge too. It becomes a challenge sometimes, because I thought Coach said it well. Sometimes in sports, and I think that's what sports teaches you, things don't always go the way you want them to go. And that's like life. None of us, I think, want to be, no offense, I think this is a phenomenal thing, but if I had to teach today and then had workouts after school, that would probably be how I planned it to be. That's kind of how, that as a coach, I'm a very routine person. This really throws me off. And you have to learn from that, and you have to adjust from that. And I think that's what sports teaches you. It teaches you those things. And hopefully as a coach, and I'd say everybody up in this panel would agree, is hopefully we can help kids out with that. Hopefully we can help teach them some things that when these things happen, they've learned some life skills from us that helps them handle these situations.
Awesome. And Coach Eckley.
These guys alluded to this. I remember being a first-year coach, drawing up the double reverse pass, that was going to, be the difference maker in the game. We don't draw up as many of those now, but as you get older, it's more about the connection with kids and guidance and maybe the perspective of knowing that teenagers are going to screw up regularly, and as a head coach, like you have to make decisions based on their decisions and what's best for them, what's best for the team, and that's a difficult position to be in. But at the same time, we want to take as many of those kids as possible and restore them back to the team after they've screwed up. 15, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have thought about the restoration process of a kid getting back to the team, but he messed up and that's it. Whereas now it seems like there's a lot more that they can benefit from being part of the team. I've got the advantage of with doing the strength and conditioning of our football team. It's something that we lift in season. We're 4 days a week. Out of season, we're 3 days a week, and it's like we're training all the time. And I love just about everything about coaching football, but one of the joys that I have is being in the weight room, and you get so many opportunities to see growth in each one of the kids every day. And so it's like you can literally see those kids go from being boys to men over time, and that's been super gratifying for me as a coach. And then alluding to relationships and whatnot, I think one of the proudest things that I have now is I've got 3 guys on staff that I coached at various places, and I've got other guys that played for me that coach in other places, and it's neat the fact that they saw what I do, that it's a good job and that it's a fun job and it's something that they want to do.
Awesome. I have 4 kids that went through the Jackson School District and played sports. All of them played for every one of you except Coach Eckley, and I'll say this: you guys all left a mark. I'll leave it at that. I'm kidding. No, you guys left a mark. They all tell really cool stories about you, and it kind of reminded me of something, a couple little things. One statement, because I've always said this about coaches: it would be the most nightmarish scenario to know that my livelihood depended on the decision-making capabilities of a bunch of teenagers, and whether or not they operate a plan or just any aspect of that. I mean, you can talk to that if you want to, solely, but it's always been an observation of mine. My heart's always been for coaches, because I knew that what you guys were doing day to day, wins and losses, your livelihood is dependent on those kind of situations where you're dependent on young people making right decisions in high tension moments. And if you got anything to talk about that, you're looking anxious over here.
No, I just, you were saying that there's times in a season you draw something up and during a timeout and you go out and the exact opposite thing is ran. And then all of a sudden you can hear people like, what was that? And I'm like, I'm telling you, what we drew up was not, I don't know what happened. When they went from here to there, something changed. And, but that is, that's, when you were talking about that, that's what I kept thinking. And sometimes that is true, but years ago, and I'm sure these guys can talk to it as well. Like those things meant, like Coach was talking about drawing up plays, and nowadays I don't think about that stuff as much as I used to. You try to talk to them, why did this happen? And instead of freaking out over it and this and that. And just as you coach longer, I think those things change a little bit. How you handle those situations right there when things don't go well changes.
You got something?
Yeah, we were playing in the conference tournament a couple years ago at Sportplex, and we had just won the semifinal game, so we're getting ready to play for the championship, and the team we're playing in the championship we had just beat 2 days earlier in pool play. So this parent individual walks up to me, and he was all excited. He's like, "Coach, we're going to win a conference championship here in just a little bit. We're going to win it." And I looked at him and I said, "Do you realize I'm relying on the decision making of 16 and 17-year-old girls to play consistent, to play at a high level against a pretty good volleyball team?" And I kind of got agitated as I said this, and he kind of just stood there, and I said, "Okay, well, we're going to try to win." And I turned around and walked away, and I was thinking 2 things. One, it was very true what I said, and 2, I probably shouldn't have said that to him because he was just excited and got caught up in the moment. And sure enough, we didn't go out and execute, didn't play at a very high level, and our opponents did. So we didn't win that one, but it is a lot to ask, to demand perfection from our athletes, but we can always demand excellence. But we also have to realize that they got a lot going on in their lives also, and they're all trying really, really hard, and they're not trying to mess up, but it's just going to happen sometimes.
I know football is probably a little different with the play calling. Basketball is a free-flowing decision-making, happens all the time, but to pull football in, and well, I guess I can say it, but Joe Paterno, when I was young, listened to one of his tapes of him talking, and he told the story about, I can't remember his quarterback, but he wanted him to throw something to the tight end across the middle, a safe play. And I guess the quarterback in the huddle changed it, did some type of fly pattern. They threw a touchdown, won the game. And the guy said, well, were you mad? He said, no, after the game, I said, that was a great call. That's the way we planned it. But his whole point was, like, in coaching, you can't hold kids back. Like, you've got to be willing to let them make plays. Like, and I think for me, as I've gotten older, maybe, I don't know, but that's part of the, like in basketball, you're going to draw up a play, but it still requires, like, what have we learned in practice? Like, once you walk across the line and you walk out there, we have a play in mind, but you have to make a play. Like, it's not about, like, the play we drew up. Basketball is probably more than football. I'm sure, like, there's sometimes this year with Kale, like, had a play called, Kale did something different, and Kale's really good at making something happen out of nothing. Basketball's like that. You know, you can have the perfect play, ran it, executed it great, kid shot it, missed it. Oh, man, that didn't work out. Play breaks down. Some kid drives in, takes a shot that's not a good shot, and it goes in. That was a great play. Well, the difference was just a shot made. You know, I mean, we're, like in our district game this year, we're down 1. The shot we took to go up by 2 probably is not like the shot that you would have drawn up ideally to take. But like, you have to have kids wanting to take shots, wanting to make plays. And I think that's what I want kids to know about in those end of game situations. Like, you're going to make some bad mistakes, you're going to do whatever, but you just got to compete. And at the end of the day, that's why it's so fun to win, because it sucks to lose. And you have to be willing to make a play to lose the game if you really want to win the game.
Coach Eck, anything? Cool. Yeah, they did cover it. Well, we'll do this. Another unplanned one. If you could tell one funny story, relatively PG, that's happened either in a game or in a practice, but something you could tell that wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings or make somebody feel stupid, but I know it's hard. Coach Abernathy, you get to start.
I've coached girls for 15 years now. There's a lot of stories on that.
I've got one up in my mind if you want me to tell it.
Yeah, let's
Go for it, Coach Scott.
We didn't go through the whole coaching career, but like, I was an assistant Poplar Bluff. Like, so my first year, like, we went to the Final Four. It was really good. We were good those next 3 or 4 years. Anyway, so I'm fired up. I take a job at Greenville High School, which was I love the kids there. I coached junior high and high school. So anyway, I think I'm changing the world. Well, Jimmy was on the JV, or on the 7th grade team, I think, or 8th grade team. He was with 8th grade, because we didn't have 7th grade then, but he's on the 8th grade team. And Jimmy, like, just the first story that comes up about Jimmy is, we're getting ready to go to Donovan. We are on the yellow bus. We are driving to Donovan, okay? First time some of these kids have left Greenville, I'm sure, but we're on the bus. I get a little poke on my shoulder. I'm like, yeah, it's Jimmy. I said, Jimmy, what do you need? Coach, who are we playing today? Or no, he says, who are we versing? So first off, I'm like, I'd never heard anybody say who we versing, but I'm saying, well, we're going to play Donovan. He said, okay. I think he goes to sit down. No, he's got another question. He pokes me in the shoulder. Coach. I said, yes, what is it, Jimmy? Hey, are we home or away? And I'm like, well, Jimmy, since we're on the bus driving to Donovan, this game's going to be away. And Jimmy, like, you'd have to know a little bit of basketball, but this is also the kid that we're doing 3-on-3 shell drill, which means there's 3 guys. If the ball is on one side, okay, we want to pull to the ball, get on the help line, all right? Well, one of the things we'll always say is, where's the ball? Which means when your man doesn't have the ball, we'd like to know where the ball is. Well, Jimmy's over here, and I'm on the baseline, and he's hugging this guy. He's just, like, nose to him. And I'm like, Jimmy, where is the ball? He looks at me, doesn't answer, turns right back. So I say it again. So I think he's messing with me. I'm starting to get angry. So I'm like, Jimmy, I said, where's the ball? He looks at me one more time, turns back around, and I'm like, hey, where's the ball? Coach, I don't know. I don't have it. And anyway, like, I could go on about Jimmy, because Jimmy obviously had numerous stories, but there's just sometimes like, well, this sums up coaching. So I've coached 26 years, been at Jackson 16 years, coached guys that I love. And I'm telling you a story about coaching junior high basketball at Greenville High School. A kid named Jimmy that was not one of our better players, but he still sticks out because he's got some stories that I'll remember till I die.
Did he have the right uniform?
I think so. I don't remember that part.
That's why he was asking the question.
I don't know for sure, but I don't remember that coming up after that. It was a long time ago, but I'm going to assume that he did have the right uniform. And I think another question he did have was, he wanted to know if we were going to stop at McDonald's on the way to eat. And I was like, no, Jimmy, we are not. We are not stopping on the way to the game to eat at McDonald's.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so sometimes as a coach, it's timing. Things kind of fall into place, and sometimes for a player, it can be the exact same thing. At one of the schools I was coaching at, we had tryouts, and at the end of tryouts, we had to cut a few of the kids. So we had our list of kids that we were going to cut. So we went down the list and we cut each of them individually, and one of the kids that we were going to cut wasn't there. So we figured, well, okay, he just quit. Well, the next day we started practice, and we're probably 35, 40 minutes in, because I was the assistant coach and the head coach was running all the drills and stuff. And I looked over at I was a JV coach, I looked over at the freshman coach, and I said, hey, that kid we were going to cut, he's here today. Couldn't figure out why he was here. So I meandered over there and asked him, said, hey, you weren't here yesterday. He goes, yeah, coach, I was sick. Okay, so I went back and talked to the freshman coach. I was like, oh, he was sick. He didn't come. So we got to make sure we cut him at the end of practice today. Well, end of practice ended, and the head coach wanted to stay and talk to us. We kind of forgot all about it. Next day practice starts. That kid is here again. So, perfect timing on his part. He was absent today. We made cuts, so we kept him on the team the entire season.
That's a good plan.
Perfect timing for his part.
Never heard that one
when cut
before.
days
Good.
just don't show up.
That reminds me of a story a coach said. It wasn't one of ours, but that a kid came in to quit, and the coach said, I'm sorry, you missed the cutoff on the day you can't quit. And so the kid stayed with it.
I don't know if I can top. I definitely can't top the Jimmy story.
The story you need to tell is when you were playing and your coach was in the locker room and had the heart condition.
Oh yeah,
that's a classic story.
I was in high school. I was a sophomore, and there was a buddy of mine. He was a freshman, and it was after a varsity game, and we were playing a little bit at this point in time, and our coach comes in the locker room after the game, and we lost, and he was a very vocal man, and he's just yelling at us. And you got to understand, I'm at a small high school, so there's about 15 guys sitting on a bench about this size, and the guy I'm sitting next to, who's one of my best friends to this day, is about 6'6", 350. Okay, so we're just sitting there, and you understand, like, we're young, we're sitting there like this, and all of a sudden he rips his shirt off. He's got a heart monitor on. Look, you guys are killing me. And I remember being like I was like me and Chad were looking at each other, and we're like, oh man, like, what is going on here? I know we played bad, but you understand, like, we're 15 at this time. We're thinking about, hey, like, if we get out of here, we'll still make it to Burger King on the way home. Like, you're high school kids, but I will forever in my life, that will be etched, because I just remember him ripping that shirt off, and I just remember, like, the eye contact, between you make with another player that you're sitting next to was like, wow, where's this going? And he was a pretty intense man. He was a good coach, but he was intense, that's for sure.
Did he survive the rest of the year at least?
He did survive. Yeah, he survived the rest of the year. I think we played a little better after that too. So that helped out some. Yeah.
That would be hard to top that story. So, unfortunately, you guys didn't set me up very well for where the next conversation was going to go. Way more serious. The current situation we have with COVID-19, the whole separation, distancing, and all of that going on, and your inability to like I know Coach Egg would be have his kids work out right now. I know all of you guys would have various forms of workouts. I don't know if any of your seasons would be going on right now, but you guys would definitely be working out. If we could, for just a moment, talk about the state of the game right now. We're not asking to be soothsayers or looking to the future, what it's going to bring, but just from your position in your sport and as a person, what does this thing look like to you? And how do you see this impacting, sports here in Jackson, for instance, and not just in Jackson, but then college and so forth? Because whatever happens at the high school level is going to have a massive impact on at the college level as well. And so if any of you guys could talk about that, I'll start with Coach Eck on this.
The one thing that I keep thinking about here is whenever we do get a chance to get back to sport, I think we'll have the most mistakes made that anybody can imagine, but made at a faster speed than anybody remembers. I think all of our kids are chomping at the bit that they want to be, that like they love the routine, even if they don't say they do. They love the routine and being able to work and improve. It's like that's part of what draws kids to sport is their interest in being the best they can be and wanting to compete. So I mean that's the one thing that I feel really confident on. All the other stuff, like, you know, what's the day, you know, how many days we're going to be out, you know, none of us have really any idea because it changes daily. And any information we get seems like it's not completely accurate. So I do believe that with all the kids that we have in our various sports and how driven they are personally to be great, I know we've got a bunch of kids that are doing work on their own now, or that they're getting together with guys. I had 2 or 3 kids text me Monday and asked if I was going to be at the locker room, or that if I could open the locker room for them so they could get their cleats, because they as a squad were going to do running drills. And you know, that kind of speaks to, I think, all of our kids that they're going to want to do stuff. And so the opportunity's there. There'll be some kids that'll have an opportunity in all of our sports to leapfrog maybe somebody that's ahead of them based on the decisions they make over the next, you know, 14 days to 90 days.
Awesome. Coach Murley.
Well, you know, like Coach, one of the coaches said earlier about worrying about what you can control. There's so many things that we can't control during this time, with how long we're going to be out and different things like that. But one thing you can control is what you do right now to stay in shape, because thousands of athletes just in this area are sitting at home, sleeping in, playing video games. And those highly motivated ones are out getting better, getting stronger. But what percentage of that is that? You know, if Coach Eckley has all of his football players in working out, my son included, you know, he's got his whole team there, his whole squad. But what's happening now with those athletes? Are they putting in that time? Are they putting in forth that effort? Are they putting in the time that they need to, you know, and they don't, of course, don't have the resources of the weight room, but they can still be doing something. So I think where there will be a lot of mistakes, but like Coach Eckley had referred to, but I also feel like there could be some players that we did not expect them to be as good as they're going to be this coming fall or this coming winter, whatever sport they're playing in, because of all the time that they put in. So I'm hoping that, you know, our athletes are out there being motivated and putting in that time as best they can under the situations that they can, because that is something that they can't control. You know, and as far as unknowing, you know, that's the hardest part for like a coach. Like, you know, you have an injury of a person falls down and grabs their knee, and you're worried sick until you get the results of what it is, because of the unknown. You're always anticipating the worst type stuff. Well, that's kind of what we're all going through right now, because we don't know how long it's going to be. We don't know, is this going to go on to the end of the school year, end of the summer? Is it going to affect the fall seasons? So, you know, I know as a coach, I'm sure all the other coaches here too, we're working on our sport. I'm watching game tape at home, drawing up new drills that we're going to do this summer, that we're going to do this fall, which I'm sure all these coaches are doing also. So, you know, we're doing the best with what we can control.
Coach Scott.
I'm up. I think in basketball it's a little different, because tomorrow we'll be 2 weeks out of season. So it's not like we're football or you're in the middle of the thing. I mean, the one thing that sticks out now is just you hear all the old people saying, kids just don't go play in the playground anymore. I'm like, well, this sticks up. I drove by the other day and I convinced Quinn to go up there, you know, just to go there. And he was like, it's kind of hard to shoot on that. I was like, well, sometimes that's how it works out. Like, might help you some. But from a basketball standpoint, I think that, you know, like probably in another month, or we find out we can't do anything in June, it becomes more real. This would be a time like we're kind of planning what we're going to be doing. So I don't know, it's just different for us at this point. The one thing that does stick out was like using my son for instance. Spring's always like a time. All right, what are you going to do basketball-wise in spring? You know, find a team to play on. You know, what's your individual plan and all this? And I just told him, I said, we spent a lot of time talking about what team, like trying to find a team to play on, and I don't think it's going to matter at this point. And I think that's kind of like a life analogy. Sometimes you can plan a lot of stuff that end up not mattering, you know. But I do think, you know, if we end up going longer, where football is in the same place, kids might have a little bit more passion, or they're going to be a little bit more excited when they get to get in the gym. When they actually get to, you know, if a kid gets to come in the morning and shoot on the gun, or after school and shoot on the gun, you know, if you've had to go and do other stuff, shoot in your driveway, that gun's going to seem a little bit nicer, like a nice new basketball's popping out to you instead of that old basketball. All that stuff's going to seem a little nicer, is what I would hope would happen. But as far as, and maybe I'm crazy, like I just think about history. I'm like, I don't know what people were doing during World War II when it happened, but that wasn't very good. You know, so I'm sure the Great Depression wasn't good. I mean, you could go through a list of things that have happened in our society, and I think somehow, I have a lot of faith that we'll figure it out. And I don't know when it will happen, but things will get back on track. Kids will show up, they'll work hard. You know, and sometimes things that seem like they're something that's not going to work out or is a detriment end up being a positive for you. You just never know.
Good deal. Coach Abernathy.
I think, and Coach hit on, basketball is in a little different boat than your fall sports, just because, I mean, honestly, I don't think we'd probably be working out for another week or two before we would start doing some after-school workouts. You know, I'm intrigued to see how this affects, you know, I was thinking about, like Coach Eckley, with you guys in football in the morning, you have 100 kids in there. And I know just from our girls, they love being together. Like, they love the locker room. Like, they love that, you know what I mean? Like, all the things that take place in that environment, they're missing right now. You know, not just the physical side of it, staying in shape, doing all those things, improving yourself skill-wise, but just that, just those relationships. And I think if we use it the right way, when we are able to get back together, once again, that's such an unknown. It's so hard to say. It's so hard to pinpoint anything because we just don't know. You know, you don't know, are you going to be back? Are we going to be back in school in 2 weeks? Is it going to be, you know, who knows? But I'm intrigued to see whenever we are able to get back together, if those moments that the kids have together aren't maybe even a little more special, you know, because they've kind of been forced and taken away from you. And I think that's something that, you know, obviously, and everyone hit on the physical side of it, but just as they were talking there, I just was thinking, you know, this can also be something that that can help us grow together, you know, relationship-wise, just because we're forced to be apart a little bit. And sometimes, you know, when you're forced to be apart and then you come back together, you can kind of value that a little bit more. So I'm intrigued to see how it goes from there, but you know, I do think it'll be interesting to see if we can get some defined times on when things will be able to start get going again.
Awesome. Well, to be honest, I think I've asked everything I was wanting to get through. You guys, I want to again say thanks for coming in. I'm going to try to do a few more things towards sports. I don't know what they'll look like. I'll get in contact with each of you guys, and probably more individual things. If this thing continues anyways, I'll just talk to you. We'll come out and shoot something or whatever it is for each one of you. But I want to thank each one of you for coming today. It's been awesome, great stories. And hopefully over the next few weeks, as this thing hopefully starts to wind down, but as it keeps going, we're going to continue to shoot things and to bring you things to fill the void of what we're missing out there right now. And as we are being more distanced from people, and I know a lot of us now are missing sports, and I know a ton of us are watching way too much Netflix and Disney Plus. And so here in the near future, we'll have a few more things where we talk about what you watch on TV and what you watch on Netflix and other digital streaming systems. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Adios.